Lesson 1, Part 3, Contour Line Drawing. We're going to discuss the importance of contour lines and how their use in your artwork makes an impact. We're also going to discuss different types of line, just so that you will have a fresh vision of them in your mind. Here we go. The first thing I want to talk about is line, what it is, and how we can use it. So line is the most basic element in art. It is simply the path a moving point takes. So the tip of your pencil or your brush. ArtBrain thinking. When you consider all the different types of line and techniques for varying them, your ArtBrain will begin to grow. So by just looking at my example here, and on that blind contour we just worked on, go ahead and make yourself either just in between the blank spaces or in the corner. Give yourself these examples. You don't have to necessarily label them, but give yourself a practice of them. Because strangely enough, our brain ends up sometimes forgetting that they exist or that we could use them within our artwork. So a good example for me is like the curly, the wavy, and we'll say like the zigzag line. I use them a lot in hair. They help me with hair texture. So we shouldn't forget that they exist and that we can use them throughout our artwork to help bring our artwork more to life. Cross contour lines, Lesson 1, Part 3. Cross contour is a little more difficult than the other practices we've done, only because it takes time to really start to build up to where you can see 3-dimension. It's the best I know how to explain it. So it takes time. Be patient with yourself. This does take a lot of intentional practice to really get good at. And the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing cross contour lines, which means they will cross each other, and we're going to be drawing a cylinder. So I have this tiny little marker cap as my cylinder, and I have it propped up so that we can just see inside of it. So what we're going to do first is it's similar to doing the blind contour, as we're going to draw the outer shape of our item, but we don't have to do it blindly this time. We can look at it and look at our paper as we draw. So cylinder, we're going to draw an oval for the top opening, and then we're going to draw 2 long equal sides, and then for the bottom we're going to draw a slight curve out, just slightly, nothing over the top here. I'm struggling to keep it smooth, so I'm going to trace over it one more time. Okay, that was the initial first idea of our cross contour. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw contour lines that instead of go around the outside, it shows us the shape and the volume of an object. So, starting at the bottom, we're going to follow this same shape, and we're going to draw a curved line. We're going to draw them all the way up. And the more uniform you keep these, the more shapely it's going to make your cylinder look. So if you get off a little bit, go back and try and fix it, because it will make it look lumpy and bumpy, which is very important to know actually. If you want something to have you know, different deformities or bumps, lumps, whatever you want me to call them, the way that you draw your lines absolutely affects the way that your object ends up looking in the end. So I'm going to try and actually make this top shape right here the same as my lines, and I might even tighten that back in a little bit as well. I'll go ahead and erase that so you can see it a little better. Alright, So we have drawn a few cross contours at this point. Another thing we can do is we can add a few more contour lines down the front. That would show a little more volume down through here. So I'm going to add in 2. I'm just going to draw in, it comes right down to the bottom. I'm going to split the center, and again, right down to the bottom. If you're not careful right in that center point, you can make it look like it widens out by adding these lines in as well. Okay, and now I see one really noticeable shadow, and it is right here on the inner part of this cylinder. So I'm just going to come back in and I'm going to darken it up through here just a little bit around that top edge. I'm going to do the same down here at the bottom. I'm going to darken it down in this bottom left corner just a bit, just like it's sitting on a shadow. And then it's just going to be ever so lightly gray on the other part of the interior, because it is a vessel and it goes in, it gets darker as it goes down into it. Alright, there is one little cylinder. The next thing I want to talk about is spheres, circles. Think about an orange. So if we want to draw a sphere, if we want to make it look three-dimensional, first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle. It can be, you don't have to draw a perfect circle by any means, and if you feel like you need help, you can look around for something to trace a circle from. Anything you can trace. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a center point at the top and bottom, and I'm going to draw a curved line that's going to connect these top, or the centers at the top and the bottom. And this is my first cross contour line. So this is the first step in seeing a three-dimensional object here. And then I'm going to do that again. I want to go the opposite way though. And what I'm doing is I am studying the shape through here with my eye so that I can judge the distance as I draw my curved line in. Alright, number 2, I'm going to do a smaller line through here, and then I'm going to add another one between those 2 outer layers. I'm going to add another one on this side between the 2 outer layers. Right, and then one more towards the center. And it does need to have a little bit of curve to it as well. Again, when we're drawing these, if you're taking more time to do it, the more nicely spaced, the more you think about your spacing and make sure your curves are like the same, the more round your object is going to look. Next thing I want to do though is I want to add a couple of cross contour lines that go across as well. So I'm going to think about the center point on both sides. If you need to make a marker, you can. And then you want to curve it out and down and then back up. And I'm going to come down again, but this time I'm not going to connect it to the top and bottom, or to the center points. But I do want to try to keep it in flow with that center line I created. Same for the top one. And you want to create direction with it. So if I'm starting over here, I'm going to draw a curve with it, and it's just helping imply that this is a round object. This bottom one's got a little harder to see here. Okay, and last but not least, in order to really start making something look dimensional, is shadow. So if you'll come just below it and just draw like a line out on both sides from it, and then you can widen it down and make it just a little more rounded right below. And you want to curve it back like it's going back around the other side of it as well. And that would all depend, of course, on your light. If your light's coming in from, you know, up here, it's going to cast that shadow back this way. And shadows are always darkest right at the very bottom where it's not getting any light, and then they fade out. They gradually fade out as they go away from the object. Alright, these are just some really quick simple examples of cross-contour line and how they can be used to help create form. Contour lines are important when we're drawing the face to help show like the shape of the cheeks and like the roundness underneath the eyes from the actual eyeballs. So we will be using this while we are drawing our, while we're painting our portraits. So I hope this helps you some. I hope you were able to follow along, and definitely try and find your own objects. Maybe a vase that has a different shape to it, or maybe you want to try like an apple. Apples are fantastic for this practice. If you have questions, of course, reach out to me. I'd be glad to help. See you on the next lesson.